Not everything that looks like a blessing is from God, and not everything that feels hard is a distraction. So, how do you actually know the difference? Because if I'm just going to be honest with you right now, I've been asking myself that question a lot lately, because there's things in my life that look right and feel right, but then on the other hand, they feel draining. And I had to stop and ask myself, like, is this opportunity from God, or is it me just trying to force something that was never meant? And the truth is, a lot of us don't miss our calling because we're lazy. We miss it because we attach ourselves to the wrong thing, thinking that it's right. Because something can look like an opportunity, it can feel like progress, it can even seem like a blessing, but it can still pull you away from where God is actually leading you. So I had to step back, evaluate, and ask myself, how does God actually lead? And how do I recognize when something isn't Him? So in that thought process, I wanted to share with you guys 4 things that have been helping me navigate whether it's destiny or distraction. So the first thing is, God brings clarity, not confusion. That doesn't mean that everything is going to be easy, but it does mean that there's going to be clarity and direction in whatever you're doing. You may not know every step, but you will be certain that this is the step. Distractions, on the other hand, they feel like overthinking. They feel like second guessing. They feel like trying to convince yourself that something is right. And you'll find yourself constantly trying to talk yourself into it. And if you're doing that, there's a really good chance that it's not God leading you. It's you just trying to hold on to whatever it is. 1 Corinthians 14:33 says, "For God is not the God of confusion, but of peace." Peace doesn't always mean comfort, but it does mean that you're in alignment with His will, and you'll have clarity in whatever you're doing. The second thing is, God doesn't require you to force it. This one was a really big one for me, and it kind of hit me personally, because if you're constantly forcing something or trying to make it work or trying to force the door open, you probably just need to pause, because what God has for you, you may have to walk in obedience, but you don't have to force the door open. Distractions, on the other hand, they feel like chasing, striving, proving, exhausting yourself just to keep the dream alive. God-led things, they feel like obedience, they feel like movement, they feel like trust, they feel like anything but force. So if you feel like you're forcing it, it's probably not from God. The scripture Revelation 3:7 says, "What He opens no one can shut, and what He shuts no one can open." If you constantly have to hold it together, it might not be God holding it at all. The third thing is, God aligns with who you're becoming. God doesn't just care about what you're doing. He cares about who you're becoming in the process of what you're doing. So an important question to ask yourself is, does whatever this is, whatever this opportunity is, bring me closer to God? Or does it slowly pull me away from Him? Because distractions don't always look bad. Sometimes they look successful, but they disconnect you spiritually. God's direction will always strengthen your character. It'll make you more disciplined, and ultimately it'll just bring you closer to Him. Distractions are the opposite. They'll drain you, they'll distract you, and they'll slowly shift your priorities. The scripture Matthew 7:16 says, "You will recognize them by their fruits." So evaluate whatever that opportunity is and look at what it's producing in you. And 99% of the time, that'll tell you everything you need to know about it. The fourth thing is, God gives peace even when it's hard. This is the thing that I feel like most people miss, because God's path is not always easy, but it carries like a different kind of peace. It's not like a surface level comfort. It's like a deep knowing that God is in this with me and I'm where I'm supposed to be. Distractions, they can feel exciting, but underneath there's always like a pressure, and it just feels like you have to perform. But God's direction can be challenging, but underneath there's always like a deep peace. The scripture Colossians 3:15 says, "Let the peace of Christ rule in your hearts." Let peace always be the deciding factor. And I made this video and I'm not speaking from a place of having it all figured out. I'm literally walking through this in this moment. There's things in my life that look like they could work. They look like they could be a blessing. But if I'm honest with myself, they feel forced, they feel draining, and they feel like me just trying to hold it together instead of just trusting God with it. And sometimes that's the hardest thing to accept as a truth. Just because something could work, it doesn't mean that God always wants it to work. So if you're in that place right now, I encourage you to just pause, pray, and ask God for clarity, most importantly. Not confirmation of what you want, but clarity, because he will always guide you. James 1:5 says, if any of you lacks wisdom, you should ask God and it will be given to you. You're not behind. You're just learning how to discern what's distraction and what's destiny. And that's ultimately part of becoming who you're called to be. So I appreciate you watching this video. I hope that I added some value to your life. And I'm praying for you. God bless. Peace.